What happens when the child of a radical leftist becomes conservative? My next guest will share her journey from being a child of a leftist and also an activist herself to someone who is truly woke in the conservative sense. Welcome to this episode of Conversations. This is the show where we have talked about everything and anything. And today I'm talking with a very special young woman, Amala Ekpunobi. She's a PragerU influencer. She's someone that left the radical left. She's making a mark as a young conservative. She has her own show with Prager. So help me to welcome Amala to Conversations.
Carol, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's a pleasure.
Well, Amala, the last time I saw you, you were at John Rich's house, and I was getting my Prager Award for great courage.
Yes, it's amazing how we find each other, us Black conservatives.
Well, maybe you should have the award because I'm not 21 years old. And so the people that I hang around are old people like me, pretty much. No, I hang around a lot of young people. So I'm not hanging around just old people. But I would imagine being a young person that you get a lot of questions. So tell us about that journey that you've had, the one that you shared at John Rich's house.
Sure. So I was raised by a single mother of three back in my home state of Florida, who happens to be a very active leftist. And by active, I mean she fundraises for the left. So she works for an extremely left-leaning organization out in Florida. Virtually any leftist campaign that you can think of happening out in that state, she is on the front lines of that, doing funding, making sure that protests are happening, campaigns are being run, legislation is being written. So I was raised with that influence all of my young life, her being one of the only influences that I had as a child. So I remember from a very young age being very cognizant of not only my race, but my gender, and being told that there was going to be barriers set in place for me because of those two things, that by virtue of being born this way, life was going to be a little bit harder for me.
And Amala, you are biracial, right?
Yes, I am. So half white, my mother's white and my father's Black.
And so your white mother, I mean this in the kindest possible sense.
Sure.
She's the one that told you that because you were Black, you were going to have all these problems because Black people in America just have problems because of their skin color. Is that the message?
That is the message. And that's what I was taught from a really young age. And I remember being told a couple times that when I go into grocery stores with my mother, people look at us a little bit differently because they don't expect us to be together. They don't think that she would be my mother. So you can imagine as a young person hearing that, how that influences your outlook on the world.
Well, Amala, you're pretty young. And so I would imagine that your mother is pretty young, maybe 40s or somewhere.
She's in her 50s now.
Okay, she's in her 50s. So that was a little bit of a different generation, but
right.
I don't know, whether or not you're a beautiful little girl. So I can imagine people did look at you in the store, but I don't know back then whether or not it would be because of your race. But I can tell you that a lot of Black people, when they're shopping, they get offended if a sales clerk comes up and says, "May I help you?" And I'm looking for them. I want them. But They think it's because they're Black, they're wanting to help them. I say, come on, help me.
Absolutely. And I think it's because of the way that we view the world. If you view the world through the lens of racism, then every look is going to be a question of racism. Every off comment is going to be a question of racism. Even people coming and helping you is going to be a question about racism. It's all about the lens that you look through the world through. And that was my prior lens.
All right. Well, so this is how you were raised. And So you expect it because you were told, and our mothers tell us things to protect us. They're trying to protect us, keep us safe, that life was going to be harder for you because you have Black blood or dark skin. And so how did you get set free? So somewhere you got liberated. When did you get liberated? You're 21 years old. How long have you been saved? in the liberation sense?
Wow. I would say I've been saved since I was 18. So 3 years now. And what precipitated that happening is, of course, I was a raging leftist throughout middle school, high school. I graduated high school. I actually started working for the left at the very same organization that my mother worked for as a youth organizer. So I was running around indoctrinating young people into socialism and critical race theory. I was convincing white kids of their privilege and Black kids of their oppression. And I worked in that job for about 9 months to a year. And all these questions started popping up. Why is this ideology better than what's on the right? How is it that I'm meeting conservatives who are perfectly kind, although I've had this caricature painted of them? Right? Exactly. Just like you, Carol. And I realized that there was a lot of racism towards white people on the left. And I couldn't find space for that in my brain with a side that said that they were so tolerant. So I raised all these questions to the higher ups at the organization. And surprisingly enough, nobody had answers for those questions. So I searched online and I found conservatives like yourself and like Dennis Prager, and that led to my awakening.
And Amala, I believe that you talked about when you started asking questions, the people that were supposed to answer those questions, they weren't too happy, were they?
No. And that seems to be the pattern on the left is when you have questions, there's a lot of defensiveness. And I think it's because there's not a lot of backing for having those type of views and that sort of ideology. So I went to the VP of the organization specifically with this question. I was raised by my white family. I am half white myself. I walk into work every single day and I hear this blatant racism towards white people. A lot of phrases to the effect of that white people don't even have space to speak in America anymore because they've held the stage for long enough. So I came and I raised the question, why is it that you claim to be anti-racist, but you are so racist towards white people? Ooh. And he sat me down. Yeah. It's a tough question to answer now, I think. And of course he couldn't answer it. So he looked me in my face and he said, you just don't understand how oppressed you are. And it's not my job to tell you about how oppressed you are. It's not my job to make you angry. You just simply should be.
Now, wait a minute. Was this a Black person or a white person that told you that?
This was a Black person that told me this.
Oh, but he was comfortable with your biracial nature as long as you were in tune with your Blackness, as long as you self-identified as Black and had no sympathy for your white half, right?
That is absolutely right. As long as you fall in line with every single bit of the ideology that they believe and you toe that line and you repeat the talking points, they're completely fine with that. As soon as you deviate from that, I guess you're no longer Black, which I'm sure you've had that experience as well.
Yeah. In fact, I had one of my sons say to me, Mom, are you sure you're a Black woman?
I get it all the time. It's so funny.
Well, Amala, we're going to take a break. And when we return, I want you to talk about, your mother and how she has reacted to your transformation.
Conversations with Dr. Carol Swain is made possible by Cooper Steel, a family-owned business that provides the steel fabrications for some of the greatest buildings across the United States. 60 years ago, Kenneth and Faye Cooper founded their company in Shelbyville, Tennessee.
Cooper Steel believes in sponsoring Carol Swain because we believe as she does, you build strong, you stand strong.
What started as a vision and now a nationally recognized and operated company that remains true to its founders' Judeo-Christian values and principles. Cooper Steel is committed to excellence, responsibility, and community. Cooper Steel's motto is, build strong, stand strong. They treat their employees and customers like family. Thank you to Cooper Steel for standing strong with Conversations with Dr. Carol Swain. Learn more about our generous sponsor at coopersteel.com. Black Eye for America is enlightening the nation.
I would definitely encourage people to buy the book to learn a little bit more about what critical race theory is actually rooted in, Marxism.
Buy the book at bethepeoplenews.com or wherever books are sold.
Just so we can have logical and practical conversations with people who are getting misinformation and disinformation from social media, from their friends.
Now an Amazon bestseller and available on Kindle.
Absolutely. It's a must-read book.
I'm back with my beautiful guest, Amala. And Amala, your mother when you told her about the racism on the job, what was her reaction?
Again, I think I got a similar reaction of that. I simply don't understand how oppressed I am, not only by our systems and institutions, but just the foundation of our country and how it's founded in white supremacy. I was told that I didn't understand how I was being exploited by our capitalist free market, just a number of things about I'm too young to understand what's going on right now, and I'll understand down the line once I truly have experience. So at first, it was really, really contentious to sort of come out as a conservative, as I say, but we've found a way to navigate it.
I've always not seen the world the way other people did, and I've always asked the innocent, hard questions, and not, if I'm not satisfied with the answers, it annoys at me. It sounds like you had the same kind of personality. That once you decided that you had a principle about how people ought to be treated, and you saw that it was being violated. And
right.
So that's what you questioned. And so, I love the fact that you are a principled young woman. And when you saw a violation of the principle of non-discrimination about how you treat other human beings, that you were able and willing to stand up, that makes you very unique,
Oh, thank you, Carol. Yeah, I find it was just born out of my personal experience. I was going to work every day, and of course, hearing these comments, like I said, in regard to white people and their racism and how they're all oppressors. And then I was going home at night, and I was going home to my grandparents, who were a lovely, beautiful conservative couple who took care of me through the duration of my entire life, fed me every night and loved me. And we had great conversations. So I just couldn't hold those two views of, one, loving my grandparents who were white conservatives, and then saying that I hated white conservatives at the same time. It's just like my brain was fighting itself. So I had to come to a conclusion whether or not the left was right, or I was just simply on the wrong side of history. And it turns out I was on the wrong side of history.
Aha, the conservative grandparents. So their teachings, it really affected you. So they had values and principles, connected to our nation, and they were able to impart that to you. And so now you're the strong young woman, fully steeped in the ideology of the political left.
Mm-hmm.
You know exactly what they're going to say before they open their mouths. You're a dangerous young woman.
Yeah, I believe so. And when I got on the internet and started making videos, I think that's part of the reason why they went so viral, is that people were having sort of a cognitive dissonance. How is it possible that she looks like this and she had this life, but she's conservative? And how do I battle this when it's not the typical white male conservative that I'm used to seeing? So it is a little bit of a superpower, and I'm sure you know that too.
And so you have these braids, and braids that's associated with Black people, and
right.
I have my afro. I've had people attack me and say, "How dare you wear a natural hairdo?" Because they assume, as a Black conservative, that I don't have a right to wear my hair natural.
Right. I get it all the time. That was one of the main comments that I would get, was people attacking my hairstyle, attacking whatever hairstyle it may be. Sometimes I wear the afro, sometimes I do dreads, sometimes I do braids. And no matter what, there would be comments specifically from Black people saying, "You're not Black anymore. You've given up your Black card. Take that hairstyle out of your head." And if I did, my hair would look just like yours, Carol. So I don't know what the solution is.
Here's another thing that I wonder about too, is that they don't have a problem with all those Black liberals who have straightened their hair, and they have all these Caucasian plastic surgeries, and they're blonde and all this stuff like that. If anyone's trying to be white, I would say it's them and not us that have natural hairdos.
Exactly. What they want to attack is just people deviating from their narrative. And since they can't attack our logical reasoning, they have to attack our appearance. They have to attack some part of our Blackness and try to strip us of that. Because then if they're able to do that, it sort of takes away our validity, our credibility in talking about these issues.
It actually doesn't work the way they think it works. And I'm going to confess to you that one reason I had this afro, there are two reasons that I have an afro and I don't dye my hair. I went through a period when I was doing media, and so I was doing your weaves and your wigs, and my hair was falling out. And so I made a decision Was I going to have hair or was I going to do weaves and all of this stuff for the rest of my life? And I chose hair.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is, because I'm a Black conservative and my message is delivered in a gentle way, but it's a message people don't want to hear. So it may be a harsh message, but the packaging, I think, is important. I think that if I look like grandma and I have my gray hair and I'm totally transparent and I'm just totally natural, that it's easier to swallow what I'm saying. And,
Right.
like you can say, oh, she's just just some old lady. It's fine. But the packaging, I think, is very important. And my packaging is I have a natural hairdo. I look like grandma, I look like your aunt, but my message is different.
Right. And there is some backing to that. And it's sort of sad that we even have to think about our appearance when it comes to our views. We should just be able to espouse our views and people take them on their faces. But I remember before I even started making videos, seeing the rise of Candace Owens and her with her straight hair and the backlash that she got for that. You get backlash whether or not you have the natural hair or whether or not you do the straight hair thing, because you have the straight hair and then they say you're trying to be white and you're conforming to whiteness. And then you do your natural hair and they say you're not Black, take that off your head. So I decided, you know what? I'm just going to do what I want to do. I'm going to look how I want to look. And if that's a new thing for people, and if that's something that they haven't seen before, then so be it. It's me being me. And I'll continue to do that.
Well, I'm so encouraged by you and your stance, but also I've met, by now, I'm going to say hundreds, because I don't want to say thousands. I've seen thousands and been in rallies and places, the Brexit places where you have, thousands. But there's some young people that are standing up and they're seeing through the nonsense. And I don't think that the Democratic Party, the progressives, the left, it's not going to be so easy to do what they've been doing. And people are asking questions. They're not just absorbing the indoctrination. They're beginning to think. And when they think, they're dangerous.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And I think a lot of times, through the past decades, the left has relied on the Black vote and Black support, and they didn't expect that to ever be stripped away from them. So back in the day, their propaganda was very, very covert, and they were hiding it, and they were hiding it from Black Americans and all Americans alike. But now the propaganda is getting really, really overt. It is in your face in mainstream media. It's in your face in school. It's in your face in social media. The indoctrination is everywhere, and it's created such a haze that people are searching for answers to look through it. It's getting so crazy that people do not want to identify with the left anymore. And that's why I think we're seeing this massive rise in Black conservatism, because you can only go about tricking people for so long before they start to wake up and realize that you're actually harming them.
And how did you become an influencer? How did you become an influencer for Prager? And as you know, I've done 6 Prager interviews, and I've also been on several people's shows. And as I said at John Rich's house, the combined views of all of the shows and the videos, 77 million people, far more than I could have ever reached in a classroom.
Right. You're an employee at this point of PragerU. So we're coworkers at this point. So what I did was I left that organization. I actually started a career in medicine, and I was going down that route.
Really?
But about a year and a half into that, I was looking around at the world and I went, okay, well, medicine's not going in a good direction. So I was right about that. And I saw that propaganda was going in a very, very strong direction.
Yeah,
exactly. So I thought, there's so many young people who look just like me and those who don't, who are being indoctrinated. Who is somebody that could cut through that? And I said, you know what? Well, with my experience on the left and where I stand now, maybe I should be that person. And I had spent a year and a half researching my views, working my way back from leftism to conservatism, listening to people like Tom Sowell, Larry Elder, Dennis Prager, Dave Rubin, anything you can name. I was listening to it. So I thought, okay, where are young people right now? And what's the worst piece of social media that I could hop on? And that was TikTok. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Hold that thought.
Yes.
We're going to take another break. And when we return, we're going to tell the audience how it is that you became a Prager influencer with your own show.
Looking forward to it.
We'll be right back.
Dr. Carol Swain's Be the People, a call to reclaim America's faith and promise, newly released in paperback and audio with a new introduction, is a challenge to all Americans. If you are serious about being the best citizen you can be, this is the book for you. From addressing moral relativism to reclaiming the future, you'll understand why Dr. Swain is one of the most relevant voices in today's culture war. Are you ready to reclaim America's faith and promise? Purchase at bethepeoplenews.com/books or wherever books are sold. Cooper Steel is a family-owned business that provides the steel fabrications for some of the greatest buildings across the United States. 60 years ago, Kenneth and Faye Cooper founded their company in Shelbyville, Tennessee. What started as a vision and now a nationally recognized and operated company that remains true to its founders' Judeo-Christian values and principles. Cooper Steel's motto is, "Build strong, stand strong." Thank you to Cooper Steel for standing strong with Conversations with Dr. Carol Swain.
Welcome back. I'm with my guest, Amala. And Amala, talk about TikTok first, and then I want you to talk about how it is that Prager discovered you and what you're doing now, what you love about it. And then at the end, I'm going to give you an opportunity to plug Prager.
Great. Yes. So again, I thought about what the worst form of social media was that I could hop on. Where were kids being indoctrinated the most? And I found that that was TikTok. It's one of the fastest moving social media platforms that I've seen to date. A lot of people know it because it's infamously controlled by the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. But I thought it was worth it to hop on there. If there could be a conservative voice that cuts through the haze on that platform, I would do it. And I hopped on and I started making.
Let me stop you.
Sure.
Are you telling me that, how old were you then?
So I started making TikTok videos about 9 or so months ago. So I was 20 at the time.
And you strategically thought this through.
Yes.
And you decided that you were going to do TikTok because that's the one that, Donald Trump didn't like it. A lot of us, we know how dangerous it is and how they're eavesdropping on us. And you chose that as a strategic decision. I just want to make sure that we heard that right.
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, it's one of the fastest moving platforms, and conservatives harbored a lot of hate towards TikTok. And I find often on the conservative side, there's this view that these apps are controlled by the left. Let's not go on them. And what happens if you don't do that? You've created an echo chamber for the left and you've created an echo chamber for conservatism. So young people, whereas you might not be on those apps, are going on those apps, and they're young and impressionable and they're being indoctrinated. So we have to be where the culture is. We have to be changing the culture where it's growing. And that was TikTok. So I decided to hop on there and make videos. And it was a good decision, obviously, because here I am.
Well, I mean, your videos went viral. How many followers did you have on TikTok? And were you also on Twitter and Facebook, or are those other platforms just for old folks like me?
Sure. So my videos blew up on TikTok first. Right now, we're running at about 510,000 followers. So 500,000 there. And I started moving my TikTok videos over to other platforms after I saw the viewership that they were getting. I thought, why not do it on other platforms? So I moved to Instagram, and then I got a message on TikTok saying, your videos are going viral on Twitter, but I don't even see that you have an account. And I didn't have a Twitter account. And I went on Twitter, and all these massive conservatives were taking my videos off of TikTok and posting them onto Twitter, and they were going viral. So I thought, okay, I need to hop on this platform too. And I did that.
And how many followers did you amass before you connected with Prager?
I was running at about 400,000 followers before I connected with Prager on TikTok, about 8,000 on Instagram, and maybe 8,000 on Twitter. And now we're at over 500,000 on TikTok. We're at almost 200,000 on Instagram, and we're at almost 40,000 on Twitter. So we've been growing.
Now I'm going to ask you a business question.
Sure.
When you were doing this with TikTok, were you able to earn revenue just doing TikTok?
So on TikTok, you can enter something called the TikTok Creator Fund, where you do gain a little bit of revenue for views that you get. I would say maybe it's a few dollars a day, maybe $15 a day. But because I'm conservative and TikTok didn't like that, I was banned from the TikTok Creator Fund. So no revenue there. I was just doing it on my own volition.
How long did it take you to get banned?
It trickled in. I think joining PragerU was a catalyst for that. So as I was on TikTok for about 3 months before I even got in contact with PragerU, I was getting community guidelines violations. So they were taking my videos down, but I wasn't banned quite yet. I joined PragerU. My videos were blowing up even more. And about 3 weeks into that journey, I was banned off of TikTok, went through a whole battle with them, ended up being a story even on Breitbart, which was insane. And then TikTok gave me my account back.
And what were some of the topics that you were covering that were so controversial that the Chinese Communist Party thought we're going to ban this kid?
Here's a controversial one. I might get censored for even saying this, but I said that there was 2 genders.
You're kidding.
Yes. And the video it blew up, of course. It got nearly 2 million views within a couple of days and immediately snatched off the platform. And then other videos where I talked about the fact that I'm not oppressed because I'm Black and I denounced the idea of white privilege, snatched off of the platform. It's apparently too radical for young minds.
That is ludicrous.
It is ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous.
But you're back on TikTok.
I am. I'm back and I'm running full speed. I'm on every social media platform nearly all day, every day. So you can't stop me.
that is wonderful news. And then, okay, with Prager, you have your own show, right? And you are considered a PragerU influencer. Is that for youth or is that just influence in a broad sense?
It's just in a broad sense. So I'm their newest personality alongside my co-host Will Witt, who is also amazing and great and has quite a big following. So I work on social media content for Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and now Will and I have a daily show called Will and Amala Live, where we go over breaking news stories, social issues from a young conservative perspective. And you might expect that our viewership is very young, and it is in a lot of ways, but we are reaching people all across the age spectrum, people from 13 years old to 85. So you never know.
Well, my show with Will Witt, we talked about Black Lives Matter, and that did really well. I think it has like 3 or 4 million views, but it did quite well.
It's great because Will often goes to the Blexit event, and I tell him he's the lone wolf white conservative at these Blexit events holding it down.
I know, but I mean, he is certainly welcome there. And yes. Do you participate any with Blexit?
I haven't yet. I haven't even gotten in contact with Blexit really all that much. I've done Candace's show over at Daily Wire, which is unaffiliated, but I have met a few Blexit organizers, and we are hopefully working on getting me out to their events, which I'm looking forward to.
Well, I don't know about speaking at their events, but one of the things that I have is a show with Blexit called Against All Odds. And the title of the show has to do a little bit with my background of having been a high school dropout, teen mom, one of 12, who kind of made it big in life, accidentally. And so that's Against All Odds. And so I use that show to cover a variety of topics. But recently I've talked about, maybe bringing in 1 or 2 people to interview them, but we want to keep it short. And so I can certainly connect you with Blexit. Would love to do so.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
And Amala, we have about 30 seconds, and I want you to tell people how they can support you and how they can support PragerU.
Sure. You can follow me on all platforms at the Amala Ekpunobi. That's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can watch my show with PragerU called Will and Amala Live on PragerU's YouTube and Facebook, also on Spotify, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. And you can simply follow PragerU on any platform to just get educated on a daily basis.
Well, thank you so much, Amala. And it's been a pleasure talking with you. And I look forward to following you even more, and our viewers. I've introduced you to an amazing young woman, and there are plenty of others out there that you don't even know about. You just met Amala.
Thank you so much, Carol. It's really been an honor.
All right, we'll be back at this moment from our sponsors. Many ask, why should I care about critical race theory? I'm Dr. Carol Swain, and along with Dr. Christopher Shore, we've authored a new book, Black Eye for America, How Critical Race Theory is Burning Down the House. Every American should care about CRT because this radical Marxist philosophy is dividing our country and taught to our children, but we're going to stop it.
Endorsed by Dr. Ben Carson, Black Eye for America is a playbook on combating CRT.
So, what do you think of Amala Ekpunobi? Isn't she amazing? She's a young woman who's willing to stand on principle. I mean, she has great courage, she has integrity, she's a leader. And I can tell you that there are other young people out there like Amala. Some of them are part of PragerU and Prager Force, but also you find them with Turning Point USA, you find them with Blexit, Young America's Foundation, Clara Luce Booth Foundation. These are organizations that are out there working with young people, and I apologize for the organizations that are doing the same thing, and I've omitted you. And so what I'm encouraging you to do is to be very hopeful about America's future. There's some young people out there, and they've got it, and they're leading. And so follow Amala on her social media platforms. Go to PragerU, and I mentioned in the show that I have 6 PragerU videos. I've been on many Prager programs, but I'm also doing a show with Blexit called Against All Odds. And I hate to tell you this, but this is kind of like the sign off for Conversations with Dr. Carol Swain, that to everything there's a season. And for now, the season for me is to focus on my writings and focus on things that, that are less time consuming than doing your own show. And so I hope that you will continue to follow me on social media, that you will sign up for my newsletters, and we're going to win this battle. We love America. I love you. And I thank you so much for your support. Bye.